Hi, my name is Nicole Bauberger. I'm here at Recollecting Yukon Artists at Work, the 20th anniversary show. Janet Patterson and I co-curated this show as fellow Yukon Artists at Work members. We're grateful for everyone here at the Yukon Arts Centre, especially Mary Bradshaw, the Director of Visual Arts, but everybody for doing so much to help us make this show fly. We're also grateful to get to make art and build an arts organization and participate in an arts community here in the territories of the Kwanlundan First Nation and the Ta'anquachan Council. We're grateful to all the elders and activists who put decades of their lives into creating structural change, which isn't easy, to create the groundwork for us to go forward and strive to make the Yukon a good place for us all to live here together well. This first piece that I'm standing in the midst of is by Martha Jane Ritchie, an artist who lives out at Dakwakata or Haines Junction. And it evokes a birch forest. Martha Jane Ritchie is a printmaker, but she's taken her prints, which are pieces on paper, often presented framed, and curled them around to make three-dimensional tree trunks, as well as printing birds that fly among them. Martha made installations of this at Yukon Artists at Work and at Arts Underground over the years, and we knew for sure we wanted to feature this brilliant, unconventional use of the printmaking material. It's also sort of a metaphor for being part of an art scene. You're not just a solo tree, but to invite the viewers into the forest. And if you go this way, you find another forest too. As you pass through Martha Jane Ritchie's printed birch forest, you catch sight of Suzanne Hauserman's birch forest that's made using organza and embroidery. I love the way Suzanne's work. She has these really solid chops in quilt making, and then she uses materials fearlessly and gorgeously. And as you make that longish walk from there to here, you can get drawn into the colors and textures in her work here. These two works come from the Yukon Permanent Art Collection. We have Catherine Deer's Listeners and Lynn Fabio's Road Warrior Spirit shirt. We wanted to put these two works beside each other because they're both working with that parka shape, which is so ubiquitous all over the north. Catherine Deer, who does this gorgeous detailed work in graphite, in this case complemented by a bit of watercolor. She has spent time across the circumpolar Canadian North, in Nunavut in particular, and so that experience of our members, not just rooted here in the Yukon, but also more widely across the North, is something we wanted to welcome into the show, as well as enjoying this. You don't often get a pencil drawing that's 6 feet tall. And you also don't often get a gorgeous sculptural installation piece like the Road Warrior Spirit shirt that's made entirely of hog gut. Lynn Fabio's piece inspired both Janet Patterson and I decades ago when we saw it, and we were our minds were blown by what was possible with materials. Of course, Lynn is probably inspired by the seal gut parkas that you can see at the State Museum in Juneau. And one of the wonderful things we learned when we did our curatorial talk, Cheryl McLean told us that there are folks in inland Alaska that make essentially raincoats out of bear intestines, and they sew them in a spiral, and that in some of these coats people put seagrass in the seam, and the seam absorbs water. The seagrass absorbs water to make it waterproof. In this case, Lynn Fabio is working in a different way. It's more akin to papier-mâché or something like that. So it's not a direct copy or anything. But she has also incorporated flattened bottle caps and pieces of rusty metal and so on from the side of the road to create this garment and its evocation of a sense of spirit made out of materials that you might not expect. Over here, we have Annie and Joe Henry as sculpted by Harrison Tanner and cast in bronze with the help of fellow previous Yaw artist Bela Simo. Their portraits were actually commissioned by, again, a previous YAW member artist, Jackie Olson. Jackie is a member of the Trondequitchin First Nation and very active in her arts community in Dawson. We are delighted that her curatorial voice is also here in this show. She commissioned Harrison to make these portraits of her grandparents, and they're installed, another casting of them is installed on a rock up in Black City, up in the Dempster Highway. Joe Henry, there are many people up in Dawson who will tell you it shouldn't be called the Dempster Highway, it should be called the Joe Henry Highway, because he chose most of its route, and mostly so that he could use it for hunting. Annie and Joe Henry lived long, beautiful lives together up there in Dempster country, hunting and eating caribou, which are evoked in Joyce Majewski's gorgeous Firth River Canyon piece, just to our right. Over the years, there have been over 100 members of Yukon Artists at work. And can you imagine trying to make a show with that many works? Well, we really wanted to represent every member who had ever been part of making YAW happen. We did manage to get works from 82 artists, and they were loaned to us by 66 collectors. And we're so grateful to them for loaning works from their personal collections. Sandy Coleman loaned us Bears in Tomato Garden by Linda Leon, and we love this piece. And we also got a big kick out of putting it beside Jessica Valenga's piece, Take Smart Risks and Never Trust Bears. Jessica told me that she made this piece when she was up in residence at the Klondike Institute of Arts and Culture's artist residency. We also have, Pat Bragg loaned us this gorgeous Family of Moose by Sandra Grace Story. And she came to our collectors event and told us this beautiful story about how her relationship with this piece related to her relationship with her family. It was lovely to hear that from her. It's also really fun to me that we have lichen evoked in ceramic by Patrick Royal, part of the ecosystem that these moose are so much a part of. Patrick is a real expert in Yukon ceramic practice, and his evocation of lichens comes both from his experience out on the land and his intimate knowledge of materials and how to use them in ceramic. There are so many pieces in this show. I would love to tell you the story of every single one of them, but I'll just show you one in one of these plinths, because the salon wall isn't just a wall, it's also these 3 plinths with these incredible objects in them. And one of them is this carving by Chelsea Ravensdale, which she did as a commission for Martha Jane Ritchie, whose birch forest we saw at the beginning. And you can see, you have to come in really close to it to see it because it's white on white and there are wolves in the forest. One of the things we enjoyed about this show is the way it offers you a range of intimacies of work. This work you need to draw really close to see. But one of the luxuries of making a show at a place like the Yukon Arts Centre is that you can show something big with the space it needs to really resound. So over here, we have a couple of pieces that both pull out that lovely wintry blue that we see so often in the Yukon. This piece up here is by Heidi Hain. It's called Age of Innocence, a squirrel and a lynx encountering each other. One of the things that was really wonderful about the event where collectors came and told us their stories about these pieces is the way that people spoke of artists who have passed on and shared their memories of those people with us. That was really meaningful for me as a curator. So finally, I'm going to lure you back through Martha Jane Ritchie's Birch Forest to Lillian Laponen's Passing Winter. We all breathed this lovely sigh when we got Lillian's piece up on the wall, the way it evokes the vastness that you experience up in the hills of Kino, especially when they're all wreathed in ice fog. And the way it's a specific place which many people who have spent time here in the Yukon have experienced, but at the same time it evokes all that we still don't know. Thank you very much.